Back at it again, Mike. 2025.
Back at it, man. Back at it.
Happy to be here.
Yeah,
Good
absolutely.
to see
You too, man. Welcome to the laundry room. It's a chance for us to spill the insights, the intel, the dirty stuff about all things good, bad, ugly, and different within the agency space, within client relationships, working with internal teams. And this is, we I think checked a big box for us in doing this 10 times now.
Really?
Yeah,
I told
we're
someone
10.
we did 5 or 6 the other day.
No, I think we are episode 11.
Season 2, new lights.
The consistency piece is always something that I know you and I are big on. Is for all the differences that we have, the similarities are really similar. And consistency, when you're talking about content or talking about making an impact, is paramount to that.
Being 11 in, I guess I didn't really realize that. And I will say, it was much harder thinking about doing it than actually doing it.
Usually is, right?
Yeah, totally.
That's usually the hurdle. It's, people travail over working out at the gym, but really the work is stepping foot in the gym.
Just get in there.
Just get in there. Once you're in there, the rest kind of figures itself out.
That's what I was telling you a few months back with working out and like setting the alarm. I was really good at setting the alarm super early. All I needed to do was have my feet hit the ground.
Yeah, man.
Once the feet were on the ground, it was awesome.
Yeah.
How hard it is to get those feet to hit the ground.
Yeah, that's big. That's big. And, 2025, I think, with all of the buzz and trending topics around what it takes to commit to a resolution or to a new decision, a lot of conversation about that right now and ways to stick to it. And that's part of what we want to talk about today, right, is how do you navigate when you should stick with it based on the good enough, right? Am I fit enough? Do I really need to go to the gym? Am I good enough in the work or profession, my skill? And when you're working with clients, you have the same dynamic, right? Is the client good enough for us to keep going the distance? Do we settle? Do we walk away? That is tough for any business, but certainly in the communication or strategic marketing space, navigating the relationships and properly defining how you sit with the client. How do you sit when they are engaged with your team and you guys are working towards a common goal? How do you have those real conversations with yourself and with the client?
I think that something like that comes after a long time. Like, you really have to know your client. Anybody that comes to us is coming to us because they want to grow their biz. So, and that breaks into two categories. Everybody says they want to grow for the most part. Now, we've had a couple clients. We were just talking about the other day. We've had a couple clients, husband, wife team, acupuncturist. They used to call us on Wednesdays and tell us to turn campaigns down because they were too busy. They didn't want to overbook themselves. So they are now retired, and they were in the twilight of their career doing this. But we do once in a great while get clients that come to us or find their way to us without the growth. But for the most part, people are coming to us to grow. Yeah. And they fall in two categories, basically: the interested in growing or the dedicated to growing. And you find out after a while what bucket, when is good enough? What is that? What does that mean to the client? Right. Now, I think for our side, you don't hear me complaining too much on the staple accounts that we've had for years and years and years. They're on what we call cruise control. I think what's hard for us or any agency really is to turn down your appetite for your client when they don't have the appetite to do it. Right. So when you do stuff for clients and they're not gonna, we have a couple, we give a dozen recommendations a year to, and we know our batting average is, 1 out of 12. would you say? Maybe sometimes 0 out of 12.
Yeah.
And just as important, I think it's really important that we provide those recommendations and those opportunities. I think that's part of why you hire an agency. I think in some part you hire an agency to be on the cutting edge of user behavior or your market's behavior. Where are they? What are they doing? The agency's going to have insight into that. They're going to show us, tell us, give us what we need to do to succeed in today's market. But when you get clients that come back and say, no thanks, I'm good, good enough, we're good enough, we don't need a new this, we don't need another that, we don't need to try that, what we're getting now is good. It does, I suppose from a president standpoint, I'm like, all right, no problem. You guys are happy, we're happy. Mm-hmm. You guys keep paying your bills on time, we keep delivering valuable work to you guys.
Yeah.
Awesome. On the flip though, when we see the opportunity, I think it's hard for us more often than not of, man, why aren't they? We're not plating it right. We're not doing it right. We're not showing them good enough of what we can do. And I think that's where it maybe gets a little frustrating for an agency, especially when, like for us, we're into it, right? Like we really do want to grow these. We want great case studies. Yeah. What are we in it for? Yeah. We want to scale businesses to brag about.
Well, and there's, impact, right? And being able to align definition with client, with your team, what is impactful work? If you are a CFO or head of money flowing in and out of the agency, you might get a different answer. Hey, that client pays their bills on time, every invoice, it's predictable.
Recurring
rev, don't mess it up.
Yeah.
And for a business, you need that.
Yep.
The downside, to your point, certainly for a team of creatives or people that are doing trend-setting work, you want inspiring projects. So when you're in the hamster wheel, you can become complacent or dull. And so you have teams, you have this internal conflict now where some of the business considerations, the boxes are being checked. Hey, we can count on this account for the revenue that we want, but for the team that's actually trying to do some creative cutting edge work, something new, they're underwhelmed. And it's why do we work with these guys again? Why are we?
Because they're a great client.
So that definition of good enough is important. Now, hey, how lucky are you as a business or as someone responsible for an account if you have a predictable relationship like that?
Oh yeah,
right?
No, yeah.
You're
ROI positive. You know you're going to be this month. You know you are going to be next month. I mean that's a great peace of mind. And I think getting to that, like that's probably like first base.
Right.
Like when you set out, and certainly for these clients that we've had for a long, long time, we were the first digital marketers, digital marketing that they ever did.
Right.
So just getting them to a positive ROI was to them a home run, to us a double,
And, for another conversation, but that definition of ROI, what we're learning, there are different definitions depending on who you're talking to. Because for some of us, and I think for all of us as consumers, how you value a return will vary, right? And when we talk about growth within a business, our knee-jerk is bottom line. What is the money in? What is the money out?
That is interesting, that ROI. I think there's money, time, or speed, and quality, right? And sometimes, I know for me, I go into the money always, right? Like, hey, how are we going to get this guy $1.05 back? But you're right. I mean, understanding it. And to that, too, on the good enough, when you play the good enough game, you're exposing yourself to not knowing when it's not good enough anymore.
Right.
So it puts you in a real hard spot. If you're in the good enough category or you're getting the vibe from client that it's good enough, you take the pedal off, man, that's when you get the rug pulled out from under you. Hey, you guys don't really get us anymore, and we're really trying to do new things, and you guys don't really bring anything forward. Yeah. And then we're whining over here. Well, we tried to pitch this and that and this and that, and you guys always said no, so...
Yeah, and I think we're living it right now in being better at identifying when you should settle. That where the client is
You got to
good enough,
yeah,
even though it might differ from what you see.
what you think, what we think at the agency.
100%.
Totally, that's a big challenge.
And the being able to clearly acknowledge, I think verbally, between you and the client with the team, who's setting the vision for that, right? Who's setting the vision for what good enough is, and that's how you can do a better job of managing expectations. Anytime we've lost an account, or where we have been naive or blindsided by client going in a different direction, it's usually because there was misalignment on what good enough meant.
Or what good continued to mean for them. Good enough, I think, in business terms, good enough is probably not a good mantra or
Mindset.
theme, mindset, right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of different opinions about why you get into business, right? Why do you start a thing, or why do you go into a certain profession? And I'm a product of that, certainly scratching my itch creatively. There are reasons why you do things that go well beyond money, right? Or a net positive business in terms of financial. With clients, though, when as a partner to a business, knowing how they define that, knowing when we're in trouble. If we're not sending over new ideas, new ways to create efficiencies, how does client perceive that? Because we have clients who, if you call them more than a couple times a month, it's a problem, right? We don't want to hear from you. This thing is humming, don't mess with it, and talk to you next month. And we can leave that conversation deflated where a client is high-fiving. We've had the opposite happen as well, where we think things are going well and we got this client in a great retention mode. And meanwhile, no, client is not seeing what they need to see in that mindset of making a bet. We're not good enough. We're hitting our KPIs. We're hitting the things we talked about when we first started the engagement, but we're not satisfied.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Mike. I think some of the time, some of these clients that we get, when you think about the engagements that we find ourselves in, a media engagement, right? We're going to run ads. We're going to run some Google ads for you. We're going to run some display ads for you. We're going to do some social ads for you. We're going to also control what these landing pages do, okay? For the most part, that's what we're trying to do. And I think of like the most recent couple that we've got, it was really a viability ask. Hey, we've never done search. Let's try this and see if it works. All right. We estimate out what we think works means. Hey, you guys do this, we think we can yield this many. You do this, you spend this much, we think we can yield you this many MQLs.
Yeah.
Or at the very least, we can drive this much traffic. This is what the costs are. This is how many clicks we're going to get. This is how much it's going to cost. I think what makes it difficult for us is when we get into these what is good and those things changing, it was real quick that they weren't. This wasn't a let's test the viability of search. This was we need to generate, 8 new customers this year. What are we going to do? And where I think we get caught sometimes, and I don't think we're the only ones, is that we went in there and we accommodate the ask. What is good for them? It would be presumably to find out if, whether it is or isn't, just find out if ads are viable for them. Search is viable for that company. That wasn't really all that's not what good was. Good was to them not to find out if search was viable. It was for them to generate marketing qualified leads that they could close and generate new business with. And when those things change, I think we find it difficult to stay in our lane, because at one hand, you're like, all right, well, we're on for this engagement. This is all we're here to do, is run these search campaigns and make them a badass landing page that hopefully converts. That's not all the other things that could be going on or that we could be doing, but we weren't contracted for it. So then when they come back and it's not yielding what they think, or it's not moving as fast as they think, or, you know, our numbers were high-fiving over here, but they were expecting to close new clients by this time. And we're kind of handcuffed to say, all right, well, we could do, make it up. We can do more video content. We can do emails. We should be going to trade shows with them and getting Twitter X going while they're there and all these things. But it makes it really hard, I think, for client too, because client's like, well, I'm already paying these guys $100,000. They want another 100, and they haven't even got me my first 100.
Yeah, and the spoiler to all of this, how do you fix that? That communication up front of being crystal clear. But then after the engagement commences, the regular check-ins, the regular reminders. You know, let me tell you what I'm about to tell you. Let me say it, and then let me tell you what I told you. Is what I told you still relevant? Is it still valuable? Has the business changed?
And that's where I think that creep in comes in from client that's good enough. Because it's not, but maybe we get fibbed to a little bit. Like, let's just keep it going. I don't want to add more to my plate. I don't have any more money. I got to go get more money. I ain't going to go try to get more money.
Yeah.
So you guys just keep doing what you're doing. I'm going to cross my fingers over here. And
human nature for all of us to be, well, certainly in our society, to be greedy, right? So it's, here's what I'm hoping to get. You get it, but then it's, well, that's not good enough. Well, it was good enough when you didn't have it.
Yeah,
right? Now you have it, and I want something else. And so that for you as a partner, as a firm, an agency that is working with this client, being able to know and detect those signs. All right, we hit this new level in what we're doing. Is that good enough? And using very layman terms.
Right. Would you do this again?
Would you do it again? What would you do different?
Yeah.
Now, balancing like growing or evolving goals with reality is, I know that that's another area where we often find ourselves having to juggle, because a lot of clients consumers will have unrealistic expectations.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to 5X my business, and I want to do that in 5 months.
You know what? For $10,000.
Yeah, because once you start asking the meaningful questions of, well, what is 5X? What's X?
Where are you at now?
And okay, we put a 5 in front of that. What does that mean? And when you start really digesting it, a good partner and a client is being realistic. All right, yeah, here's what that means. We agree, or there's some acknowledgement on what the investment needs to look like to achieve that, what kind of time is required. We get in trouble when there's a misalignment on reality, or what we deem reality. Hey, we can't help you with that. We're not a good fit. So knowing when to say, we got to walk away versus.
And that's super hard too. I mean, certainly for an agency, like, you don't get into business to like fire clients or to,
right.
Hey,
right.
we can't help. Like, our in nature is we're trying to figure out a way to help you, to make this sweeter, get you an ROI in one of your ROI categories. So I do think that makes it really, really difficult. And in ego, they said this about hires. I can't remember who was talking about this, but when you make a new hire, you know the adage, slow to hire,
oh yeah,
quick
we've talked
to
about
fire.
that before. Oh yeah.
Well, the ego is the reason that you're quick to hire and slow to fire, because you meet someone and you trust in your instincts and what they said and how the interview went, and you're like, get them in here, this is going to be awesome. Then they get in here immediately and they're not awesome. But you're so into your own feelings and your own ego that you're not admitting to yourself that you made the wrong move. So you like try to patch on and on and on.
Right.
Same with clients, right? Like we do the same thing. Are there clients that we've taken on that we shouldn't have? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Did we try to keep them after we made that mistake?
Heck yeah.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
So getting in those and getting in those real conversations with your clients, I think that's one thing that we've been lucky enough to be fairly good at over the years of really talking about the things that mattered, not shying away from the elephant in the room. I think it's really easy to like go through your task or go through your motions and okay, dashboard day. Let's walk through the dashboard and look at your MQLs instead of like, hey, where you guys at? Where you going? Is this viable? Is this going to work for you?
Let's talk about some of those signs too, because we certainly have the scars and the t-shirts to testify to that. When you have any type of toxic interaction with the client, and I know toxic is a buzzword that's often misused, but it is on agency to know what your strengths are. What is your team really good at? What are you really good at delivering? If client doesn't value that or doesn't agree with that, and instead it's you serve as a punching bag, that might be a sign that you need to make a change, right? Because the biggest commodity that we have are the people that are working on the team. Right? That is
100%.
what we are offering to our clients.
And if we lose our footing, one of our team or our team in general loses our footing at being an expert, being a thought leader, then we are now competing against some of the cheapest labor in the world. As soon as you lose that, we just become these kind of order takers, so to speak.
Yeah.
We can't compete.
Yeah. So protecting the integrity of the agency, so that there is acknowledgement from the client that yes, these are the guys that can help. Now, there's a lot of work that the agency has to do to maintain that, right? You have to do the work to create the confidence, to maintain the trust of the client, perform, right? Obviously, you got to perform and make sure you're delivering on what we talked about. But when there are signs that client does not appreciate that, that's when you got to take a hard look at what do we need to protect within our own walls to make sure that this doesn't become systematic or cancerous to not just that relationship with the client, but now the work we're doing in other areas of the biz. And that is, I think, hard for an account team or account person sometimes because you are so dedicated. You're so passionate about winning for the client.
Yeah, right. Took so much work to get them.
Yes.
You don't want to lose them.
Yes. And having that balance of...
We do that. How many times do we pour in?
Oh, yeah.
Way over because we got them to this point.
Right.
And that's the value, I tell, if you're a client, you hold a ton of value if you're paying recurring revenue to your agency.
Yeah.
Straight up. Like, and it's, maybe there's some inside baseball. Like if you're paying an agency recurring revenue, odds are that agency will do anything to keep you. Like extra this, more of that. Like they're going to do whatever it takes to make it right and make it good. And I don't know if clients really understand that. And I don't think agencies necessarily do a good job giving that vibe either.
Yeah.
Which is what we're talking about. When is good enough, and when do you say, hey, I'm sorry, we tried our best.
Yeah.
I've never done that. We had one bad one years and years ago when we first started, and this guy like screamed at one of our folks and swore. He was saying swear words, and it was just it was too much. It was, I don't know what you call it, but it was just beyond the line for us. And that was it. That was the only time that it got that bad. Now, I've wanted to say, heck with this, but we don't. And it doesn't help us sometimes.
My favorite analogy, and I know you and I, over the years, we joke a lot about lawn care. So there's a lot of references we make to lawn care. When you have a guy that is doing your lawn maintenance and it's a no-brainer. You don't have to think about it. You know that company or that guy's coming every week, every couple weeks. You get into a hamster wheel. In the first part of the engagement, maybe your yard was pristine. Like they're doing all of the extra stuff. And then over time, it loses some of its pristine, right? You got patches, they didn't cut here, they didn't blow off your driveway the way they used to, and you find yourself as a customer in a hamster wheel of good enough. And if that team, if that lawn care provider isn't doing the work of checking in and staying at the cutting edge, you find yourself, when you lose that customer,
saying, what did I do?
Now, and all the goodness that might have happened before, that's gone. It's forgotten.
You're going, why do we lose them? I don't understand.
Yes.
This was this is why I like being accountable to measured outcomes.
Yeah.
This is the ROI. And when I say ROI, I mean dollars.
Yeah.
Because that is black and white. I was telling Casso the other couple weeks back, we got the office. We get the office outfitted for Christmas, and they bring in the flowers and the wreaths and stuff. I don't know what it was, man, but they set this stuff up this year, and I'm like, is this our stuff? They go and they store it. They bring it in the end of November.
Yeah.
They set it all up for us, and then they come in in January and pack it all up and store it, and then they'll bring it back to us. I'm looking at this stuff this year. Now, we've been doing this 3 or 4 years now.
At least.
This year, man, this stuff hit me different. Wreaths, centerpieces, they got a couple trees up, a couple wreaths. For some reason, the blue ain't hitting me the way it used to. The decorations that they put in, I'm like, man, this kind of giving me like an 80s vibe or something. I'm not liking this. Why? I remember year one, when I saw it, I walked my mom through the office and said, look, Mom, we're celebrating Christmas in the office. I was so excited about it and thought it just lifted the whole space.
Yeah.
I can't explain to you what it is that changed, but they're on the bubble. Either we got to get a new vendor to do it. They're going to have to give me some new ideas to spice up.
Yeah.
And if they don't, right? Like how many more will we go before we're like, guys, thank you for this, but we're not going to do this anymore. And they're going to say over there at wherever the place is, what do we do?
Yeah.
What the heck? This was going so good. They were a client for 5 years. Now they're gone for no reason.
Yeah. Well, and that's that.
You didn't check in.
Silent quitting. Are you kind of in that silent quitting mode?
Yeah.
So for them as a business,
protect yourself against that. That's hard.
You may not be toxic, right, in how you're interacting with them when they're setting it up, but the unrealistic expectations, right, that we haven't done as the customer the work of providing clarity, explaining the feeling. They haven't maybe done a good job of pulling that out, mining for, hey, how do you feel about this?
Well said, Mike, because you're speaking like to be a good client. And it's funny, when I'm on the receiving end of it, as the client, I'm going, I ain't got to do that. They came in here the other day and packed it up, and they walked by, and I made eye contact, and she didn't even make eye contact. Not a big deal. I mean, it was I'm sure her job is to go and pack up the stuff.
Sure.
But if they would have had someone come in and peek in and say, hey, how's it going? How was the holidays? How'd you like the office this year? Do you like just that little thing?
Are we still providing value in setting this up?
I might have thought differently about seeing it. That is a good point. Now, when you're on the client end, you're expecting them to come and do that for me.
Yeah.
When I'm on the agency end, I'm saying, well, why didn't you call me? Why didn't you talk to me about how you were feeling about I didn't know who to call. Who was I going to call?
Yeah.
I don't have I wouldn't know in this case. This is a little different example, but if you're not in the position to be called or to call, you're done.
I'd call that certainly navigating that gray space, because when there is not the work of some cadence of communication, right? That company is not reaching out to us in July and saying, hey, you've had that stuff for a few years now.
Time to upgrade.
We got some new stuff. There's some new things you should be considering that would elevate the space. So as a agency, that is part of the job, right? Being able to do that check-in, here's something new, and that's why we do it, right? There's a level of expertise that we're trying to bring to the table. If a client is unrealistic in how they receive it or what they think they're going to get from it, it might be a sign that you need to have a different conversation.
Yeah.
But navigating that gray area of communication isn't happening or, mind reading is an expectation, that's tough.
And this is what I was telling Casso. If we had clients in and out of here all day long, every day, and, 14% of the clients that came in mentioned something about the decorations in a positive light, and then we attributed that to a dollar amount and said, all right, this has this percent impact. Like if we got real scientific with it, we're not.
Yeah.
No one is, right? Unless you're doing Coca-Cola stuff and Apple stuff and you're everywhere, you're 8 feet away from everybody, we're not investing that kind of effort into the impact of Christmas or holiday decorations. And it makes it really hard to stay on top when that ask becomes more creative or unmeasurable in nature.
Yeah.
It makes it much more difficult for agency to act or to look around the corner for client.
Mm-hmm. Two solutions, I think, to that problem, certainly navigating the gray area. One, the being intentional with a check-in on not how are we doing.
Not status.
Right?
Right.
What else are you trying to achieve? How are the goals evolving? What is keeping you up at night that we haven't talked about?
I think, too, it's easy to get into a habit to not ask how they're feeling about what's happening.
Yeah.
You're just reporting out on these numbers, and the end, it's like, so what do you think?
Yeah.
That ain't it.
Yeah.
It's, where's your head at? What's Q3 look like for you? What is your mission?
And then number two, having enough intelligence about your client to go and give recos, to give hey, we haven't talked about this, but here's what we see around the corner. You should be thinking about this. Because then it does help to mitigate the complacency or client feeling like good enough isn't good enough anymore, right? So, and I think it's easy for a business to get in that hamster wheel of, the client's been with us forever. They're not going anywhere. That is a trap.
Mm-hmm.
That is a trap. And so being able to implement strategies or tools that allow you to keep the pulse of conversations that aren't happening all the time or are outside of the scope of engagement that you're in is super important. And that feedback loop or our ability, I know this is an area we're trying to get better in, is doing the look back of here's what happened with engagements that didn't go the way we thought. What do we do about it? What are the things that we need to implement so that this happens less the next time we have a similar situation with new client? And doing that work is so important to knowing who you should be working with, right? Knowing up front, it'd be great if we all had a crystal ball and knew up front, this is going to be a great client. They're going to stay with us forever. They're going to love us, give value. But the fact is, no, you got to do that work week to week, month to month.
Yeah, and it changes.
Yeah, and navigate the change. And so that good enough part of what it's funny, clients we've had for more than a couple of years, their business is different than it was when we first started with them. And so, of course, the ask is going to change or the business requirements are going to change. We're a different company. We're a different agency than we were 2 years ago, 7 years ago, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And so to make sure that that is reflected in the conversations, that's a great tool to have when you're, dealing with that good enough concept. Is the client good enough? Are we good enough? Now, to get philosophical, no, it's never good enough.
Right.
There's always something better, right? There's always an opportunity for us to be better, to be doing something that we haven't done before, and same with the client. But getting that alignment is certainly important because if they don't believe it, doesn't matter if you do.
Yeah, and staying aligned. Get it off the get and then keeping it. That's the other piece of it. It's never the cynic. I think it's Simon Sinek that was like, hey, if you brush your teeth once, it's not going to do anything for you. You got to do it at least twice a day, every single day.
Yeah.
If you tell your spouse, I love you one time when you get married, probably not going to be enough.
Right.
It's the same with this. Like, you got to stay lockstep, ongoing, constant work, daily, weekly, monthly, that keeps everybody on track with what the changes in the environment are. Positions change. You lose clients. Clients lose clients.
Yeah.
Making them open up new things that they weren't willing to do before.
Absolutely.
And if you're not in with that,
Right.
and you're in your lane just skipping down saying, oh, yeah, we're doing good enough.
Right.
That's when the rug gets pulled. And man, that's a horrible feeling.
Yeah.
It is a horrible feeling when you hold the position that you think you can really impact businesses, and then you're dismissed when you think you're holding all this, oh, I haven't even shown you my best stuff yet. That's a bad spot to be in.
Great commitment for us and those who are listening, know the difference between when you should settle and stick with it when you have a client or when you should walk away.
Yeah.
And being committed to that process.
Yeah.
Knowing nothing worse than thinking it's one thing and it's the complete opposite.
Right
man.
on.
So I know we're committed to that. Episode 11, man. Committed to this. We're not just interested. Right?
We're committed.
We're committed to it,
That's
dedicated
right.
to it.
Dedicated.
Kudos to the team here for keeping us and holding us accountable to coming in here and recording. So we'll keep this going. Hope you guys enjoy listening to these as much as we enjoy
Making them.
airing the laundry. Next time, man.
Cool. Thanks.